Their apology, they can shove their apology up their ass. Panarin definitely looked like he got his mojo back. He got an assist. I was wrong. Big.
That's new.
And welcome to the final buzzer with myself, John Flakowski. I hate doing that. It sounds like, I don't know, like grandstanding. But I'm your host anyway. As you can see, I've got two special guests from Ranger Central, Nat and Evan.
What's up, boys?
What's going on?
What's going on, boys? Big win tonight. The Rangers came out. They had one mission, and that was win. And not only did they win, but they handled business the way that you expect to handle business against a team that's got nothing to play for, that's low in the standings. So this is a big win for them to get Igor a shutout. And we almost saw another 50-goal scorer in franchise history, which would have been nice, but he came just short. Had a couple of really good chances to score otherwise, but that deflection goal, man, was that something else? That was
into the middle of the ice.
To the middle of the ice. I don't know if you guys remember this, but the 13-14 Rangers used to do that on the power play a lot.
Oh, yeah.
When Zuccarello, Pouliot, and Brassard went out as a unit on the power play, that was a play that they drew up a lot, and they started doing that. And they got a lot of deflection goals, especially, I would say, in the range from maybe December to about January. They got a lot of power play goals that way. So it was pretty interesting to see that. But the big thing here, obviously, Rangers clinched their fourth President's Trophy in franchise history. 91-92, 93-94, and obviously 14-15. Two other times, they fell flat. One other time, 30 years ago, they made something special happen at the Garden. And I don't know about you guys, but I keep seeing these comparisons between 93, 94 and today's team. And while it's fun to look back and, have the nostalgia of it, am I the only one that gets a little nervous when I keep seeing these comparisons?
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, a lot of pressure, and we got to put a lot of respect on that 93-94 team. That they had such a great leadership core, so many Hall of Famers on that team. Obviously, Marc Messier, captain, Brian Leetch, one of the best defensemen all time in NHL history. I mean, I know we have some comparables. I mean, obviously Panarin's our best player. Fox, maybe, not at the levels of Brian Leetch. Hopefully, one day he does get up to that level. But this is a good team. Let's see, though. Like I said before, the real hard work starts now. And if they really want to be a cup contender this year, you got to do like what the 93-94 team did. Win the first round quickly. They swept the Islanders during that year. I think for me, whoever they play, whether that be Pittsburgh, Washington, Detroit, you got to win that series in at least 5 games.
Couldn't agree more with that.
Yeah.
I mean, Evan, floor's yours here, buddy.
Yeah, I was just going to say that you can't go 7 games and expect to win the Stanley Cup in round 1, especially because you got the number 1 seed now in the East. Like, this is supposed to be your path where you get the easier opponent. And I know no team's necessarily easy come playoff time, but when you're looking at the teams that are there, you got Washington, who's probably going to be the team with a minus 30 goal differential. You got a young Detroit team, which hasn't made the playoffs in a very long time. Those are teams you got to take care of business of if you want to be a legit cup threat. And, I've said this before that I'll truly start to believe that this is the year if they take care of business in round 1 in at most 6 games and they beat Carolina in round 2, since I think Carolina beats the Islanders. But if they do face the Islanders, if you beat the Islanders in round 2, I'll start to really feel even better about this team.
Yeah, and that's another thing. The 94 team had to slay a lot of demons, and one of them was beating the Islanders at Nassau Coliseum before the playoffs, and that was a big thing for them. If they can beat the Islanders in a second-round playoff series, I definitely agree, because that's going to be a team, even if they lose that series, that's going to be the Islanders, I should say. Even if the Islanders lose, they're going to make that series tough for the Rangers. It's going to be physical. It's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be emotional. So that's something that you're going to have to go through. The peaks and valleys of a postseason to win those 16 games is something that I think gets overlooked quite a bit when everybody talks about matchups and what team match up best against and what team can bring out what in the Rangers and vice versa and so on, and what matchup is tougher. But I mean, overall, going up and down through the postseason, and like Matt said, getting five is a big thing. If you can get into that first round of 5, because we've seen how this team gets worn out by playing unnecessary games against inferior opponents. Ottawa,
Philly,
2014.
New Jersey in 2012, even like they should have beat that team. And then last year, New Jersey, they should have beat them, although that's not really a worn out thing. But yeah, and then Tampa Bay too. But that's why we're saying, you got to close out round 1 early, because what's the last? LA had to be the last team to win the cup after going 7 in round 1, but they also face a team that went 7 games, so it's different.
Yeah, and they went 7 against San Jose in round 1 that year. Yeah,
and they were down 3-0.
Yeah, and they came back from the 3-0 deficit, which is even crazier. It's just that team. That team had experience, though, a ton of experience from 2012, and they came close in 2013 as well. They were right there. You just, that core stayed together for those 3-4 years, and they had a great run. Sometimes teams are teams of destiny, and that was one of them. But I mean, I honestly think if the Rangers get to the finals in 2014 in a little less time, and that series against Montreal goes 5, and they go 5 against Philly, that's a team that could finish out those physical, grueling games against LA, the bigger, heavier team that grinded them down for 5 games. Those games went to overtime.
Yeah, I always felt that while the Kings did deserve to win that series, I felt like the Rangers beat themselves in that series. You had the 2-0 lead in game 1, 4-2 lead in game 4, 2-1 lead in game 5. They blew a lot of games, and obviously a big part of that was due to fatigue. But I think like what you mentioned earlier, Phil, going back to that slaying the demons part. Obviously, I know they got to get to the first and second round before they even get to the conference final, but it's kind of like why I know a lot of people don't want to see them play Tampa, but if they get to the conference final, I would like to see them play Tampa. Defeat those demons, slay those dragons. Obviously, they lost in 14-15 to them, and they lost in 21-22. Now, I know the 14-15 team and the 21-22 team, those are 2 completely different groups, with obviously Kreider being the only one to carry over, but it's kind of like what the Caps had to do against the Penguins, beat them. Maybe you beat Tampa, and that just pushes you forward towards hopefully winning the 5th cup in franchise history.
Maybe it's the mental boost they need. And you think about that, and you bring up a great point with Washington. When Washington knocked off Pittsburgh in 2018, that was the big thing for them. And they rode that momentum all the way to the cup. I mean, provided Kuznetsov was on another level at that point. Ovechkin probably, no disrespect to Ovechkin, but I don't think he should have won the Conn Smythe that year. I think Kuznetsov was their best player. I think Holtby was very good when he had to be, but I think Kuznetsov reached another level, and that's why Ovechkin was able to score as many goals as he did in the playoffs, consistently as he did. But speaking of Russians and talented Russians, you got one right here. And Artemi, I think, is the nickname that everyone is calling him these days. We heard the MVP chants tonight, well-deserved. And that's not the thing. It's not whether a matter of not he deserves it. Because, 49 goals and 120 points. It's a matter of whether he will win it. And I don't think he will, but I'd love to hear what everyone else is thinking.
I have my case, obviously, for it being a Ranger fan, but he's not going to win it. But you look at the point separation between him and Trocheck, the next closest scorer on this team, and it's just not even close. It really isn't. And this team is probably in a spot like he got Trocheck to have a career year. He's got Lafreniere to have a career year. And it's not the takeaway from what those two have done, because they have been good in their own right. But let's be real here. They're not getting the point totals they have without Panarin being on that line. Even the power play too, like Mika and Kreider, we talk about their point totals because of the power play. Panarin's helping boost that. I just feel this team is probably a 3rd seed or wild card team without Panarin on this team. And even if he was playing at the half the level, this team's probably second, third in the Metro Division versus where they are right now. And I know you can make that argument for a couple other players on other teams, but he's not going to win it. It is what it is. But I was still all for the MVP chance. I was trying to push it, and Johnny Lazarus ended up pushing it the most, made it happen. And I'm glad to hear it because the Knicks fans do it with Brunson. Like, he's probably not going to win MVP, but chant for it anyway. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong in supporting your guys and pushing him to be better, especially after the whole report that we saw with Gerard Gallant. And that I think we're going to have a completely different motivated Panarin, and he's going to be on a warpath. And on top of that, the MVP chance pisses off other fan bases. So love that. Keep doing it if it pisses off other fans.
John's usually pretty good with his comments here, and it's Laviolette. And I know I talked about this with you guys, between different threads and stuff. But we haven't gotten to talk about it in an actual discussion type setting like this. But the one thing that I've noticed in between years past and this year is that every time that they have one of those post-game locker room things, the coaches are in there. They're in there with the players. Housley's passing out pucks. Lavi's giving out pucks. I mean, it seems like, as opposed to the years past, because, I mean, obviously there was a schism between the players and the coaching staff last year with Gallant. And Gallant, obviously, his shtick just got tired. Like Tortorella, he gets tiring in a way on players. Gallant has his way of getting tiring, and he caused a rift. And now he's gone. And Laviolette seems to be supportive of the players, and that's a big thing. Because in 94, you guys know about the heave-ho chants, right? That was all because Keenan was just cracking the whip on them, and he was like the pirate ship driver, and he was just terrible with that. And they won despite him. But this is a coach that's as good, probably even better, and I think that he has this team united. I mean, who the hell gets his team to start singing "Believe" by Cher in a locker room? I mean, fucking seriously, man. Like it just you don't see types of things like that, and that's why I'm with John on this. I've got a real good feeling about that, and I there are some things that I worry about. I do worry about the leadership group a little bit, but I think that they understand what it takes now after coming so close 2 years ago and then having that awful, shitty taste in their mouth after that series. Because even though I believe they quit on him, especially after reading that.
Oh, they definitely did.
Yeah, they quit on him.
Even though they quit on him, they do not like the fact that they had to quit on him to get him out of there. And I said it to some random person came into my comments earlier on Twitter and said, "Oh, well, I don't like the fact that they lost." Okay, so you want to keep Gerard Gallant and then have the same thing ran back so they can run into the same issues and have the same nonsense all over again and drive the players and the coaching staff apart? Okay, you have that. I'll take my better future and more chances and better chances at a Stanley Cup. That's just me.
Yeah. Gallant, it was so clear in the exit interviews that they didn't like Gallant, and the way Gallant was talking, you could tell that he knew he was on his way out. Something was clearly off.
Trubis.
Yeah.
Trubis. He might as well just came out and said Gallant sucked.
Gaudreau too.
Did.
Yeah.
You know what? It's interesting to see the different dynamics between the teams and the way that they're working now, but there's definitely a different vibe. And I think Laviolette has once again just pushed the right buttons because he reunites Schneider and Miller, and the results just do not lie. They don't. This is so much of a better pairing than Miller and Trouba, which hasn't worked for 3 years now. Hasn't. Been awful. And I know that we've all interacted and have all bashed that pairing to hell, just beating it like a dead horse with a bunch of sticks, and everybody's just sitting there just beating it to a bloody pulp. It needed to be broken up, and he did it. And it seems like Laviolette, even though it's taken some time, like he's pushed all the right buttons throughout the season. I mean, he got Blake Wheeler to be semi-productive on a top line. He brought in Jimmy Vesey at one point, and he helped them out. Johnny Brodzinski even had that very little short burst of offense where you're like, wait, what the hell just happened here? I mean, Capo Caco, he put them with them, and then he puts Capo Caco on a third line with Wenberg and Cuylle, and that becomes a good third line. It just, we're seeing masterclass work. If Gallant was playing checkers, Laviolette is playing 3D chess, and he's just absolutely just mind-fucking Bobby Fischer. That's how good Laviolette is with these decisions. And, you know, it may take some time, but he does it, and he does it right.
Gallant was even playing checkers. He was just throwing shit against the wall and hope it sticked.
I was gonna say, let's play a game quickly. What would the lineup be right now if Gallant was the head coach? By the end of the game, what would the lines have been? Because he would have changed the lines at some point. 1-0 wasn't good enough.
Goodrow would have definitely been on the first line.
Okay, Kreider and Zibanejad definitely stay together. You're probably right about Goudreau. It'd probably be Goudreau up there on the first line.
Rempe on the top line? No.
No, because he doesn't trust young kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dryden Hunt would be right wing one, not Goudreau.
Nemeth would have got a PTO going into the year.
Yeah. Do you think? Jones should be in there over Gustafsson. That's not even a.
Get the hoop.
Get the hoop.
Please. Get the hoop. If Marc was here, Michael Solomon, we tell him get the hoop because that's an absolute layup. Jones should be in. Gustafsson was okay tonight, but I mean, he didn't have to really be too good. They were just dominant tonight, and it was another point. Yeah, Goudreau, Rollins, Kreider. Oh, I mean, there are lineups.
Yes.
Oh, there it is. Yes.
I still have to give it to Marc. I still got to send this out to him.
I mean, if we're gonna talk about lineup, we got to talk about this because there is a possibility.
Yes.
If there is a Filipino horizon or a return on the horizon, who's going to get moved? Who's going to get booted? Because if you ask me, if he looks good enough, I'm throwing him right with Zibanejad and Kreider.
Yep. Yeah.
I actually feel differently.
Really? I want to hear this.
The only reason I do is because I think the first line is starting to find their rhythm a bit. If things look bad in game one and Chytil is in the lineup, then I say make the change. But I think you should put him on the third line right now. Move Wenberg down to the fourth line because Goudreau plays better on the wing anyway. So you put Wenberg between him and Vesey, and then I think it will add more scoring to that third line. And Chytil is responsible enough defensively, and then on top of Cuylle and Kakko, I think that could be a line that all of a sudden starts to show some offense too. And all of a sudden, you might have three. If the first line could continue to cook, you got three legit lines that could score.
I definitely see the case for both. So I'll go for my first line right wing for the reason why I want him on the first line right wing. They obviously tried, they couldn't get against the deadline. So Drury tried to go bargain bin shopping and he got Roslovic hoping that it'd be of a Toronto 2.0. I think Chytil's more of a Toronto 2.0 who he's fast and he shoots first. And I think he'd be a nice play driver off that wing when Mika and Kreider. We know sometimes Mika and Kreider can disappear, but hopefully like Mika can become a consistent play driver on that first line. The third line I would like because I think Kakko, Cuylle, and Wenberg, they're not really play drivers, or not, I'm not saying not really, they really are in the first place. I would like Kakko to take that next step and become the play driver on that third line, but I think if Chytil could slot into that 3C, he'd become the ideal play driver on that line. Kakko and Cuylle could feed off him, and like you said, Wenberg could move down to the fourth line, and that's a really good 4C option right there with Wenberg. And obviously, you move a Goudreau over to the wing, and probably Vesey is on the wing on that line as well.
You know what? You might have just sold me on it, Evan. You really might have just sold me on it because of the fact that I'm not a big fan of Roslovic. Something about his game. I think he played better tonight than I've seen him play any game with the Rangers. But something about him I have a fear of him just being too soft and just not up to the task come playoff time. And that's why I would want to put Chytil there, because I do think that Chytil could explode there. But I do agree that third line could have so much more offense if you add Chytil to center there. And not only that, but you manage his minutes that way. And that's going to be a big, big thing. Because you got to remember, he may be in physical shape, but he's not in game shape. There is no substitute for game shape whatsoever. And Matt, you've played competitive hockey as well. And you know that as well as probably better than all three of us, I would say. I mean, there is nothing that substitutes for game shape at that type of level. So I'd imagine that Laviolette, knowing this, would probably manage his minutes. But David Wood, I'm going to tell you this right now, he's coming back. He's absolutely coming back. There is no way that he's going to be in a full contact practice.
If he's not coming back, yeah. I was having cautious optimism, but at this rate, I truly think he's coming back. And now you pretty much got a week off until the playoffs. Yeah. If he's ready, throw him in there.
Yeah. He's going to play. I know that this is going to be the common theme here from a lot of fans who are concerned. And yeah, I get it. I'm concerned too. I'm concerned that the next awkward collision could be the end for him, for all we know. I mean, he's on a Lindros LaFontaine type trajectory where he may have 5-6 concussions before he hits 30, which is crazy to think about. But I do think that he's going to be playing, and I think if he's healthy and the doctors say that he's good and there's no more symptoms, he's cleared and he's going to go. I mean, he's already been cleared for full contact practice. He's coming back. It's not a matter of if.
It's a matter of when. And sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that, like, the only thing I'll say, too, to counter that point that he needs to sit till next year, if he's cleared and he's not retiring, at some point he's going to come back. If he's cleared anyway, he could go now. Like, what's the point in waiting?
Yeah, and I just think it'd be such a huge morale boost to the whole team.
Yeah,
just seeing how, like, he was supposed to have his big breakout year this year. He started off well, had the unfortunate collision, looked like he was coming back, then had another setback, looked like he was done, and just seeing him like come back now. Now it's just it gives you belief that's like, okay, this could be the year. Not only to the players, but just imagine the atmosphere in the Garden. Bob O'Reilly, not saying that he's going to be back for game one, but just imagine Bob O'Reilly's playing, the Garden's hype, and you see Philip Chytil step onto the ice for game one. Just how
bonkers.
And
how
take a step further, he's in the starting lineup, gets announced in the starting lineup.
Yeah, just
bananas.
Electric.
Absolute bananas. You want to talk about electric? Goosebumps on my arms right now thinking about that. And just imagine everybody in that damn arena. That arena is going to blow. And MSG could be a very hostile place to play again, like it was in the early 90s when Messier first came there. And that's not something any team wants to deal with, because that place gets loud.
It was loud tonight. Carry that over into the playoffs, and we could dial it up by 1,000. If anybody in the chat's going to a game, keep it fucking loud in that building. Keep it loud.
Yeah, I tell you, I went to 5 games during that 2014 run. I was there for games 4 and 6 against Montreal. And I swear I almost never heard it as loud as it was when Kovalov stood up the second time and he ripped off that jacket and had that 94 final shirt on. That building started to friggin' shake. I swear by it.
The anthem from Game 6 against Montreal.
Oh, yeah. Incredible, man. Incredible. I tell you right now, that there are very few buildings that can get as loud as MSG come playoff time. So I'm with Evan on this. Anybody who's there, hype that building the hell up.
Bring those.
I want decibels over 150, 200. I don't care how loud it has to get. That scare the living bejesus out of the opposition.
Bring those MVP chants as well.
Yeah, because that's what you want to get Panarin through. But we had another one who was going through some rough times this year, and then Igor, has he gotten his mojo back? Is he like Austin Powers? Because he looked like he was struggling quite a bit in January and February, and some of the saves he's made, especially that windmill save against Barzal in overtime. Jesus Christ.
Oh, the get off my lawn crowd getting mad at that is so hilarious to me.
Oh,
but
I love it.
What were we talking about in January, February, when he was struggling? He needed to get that mental reset. They gave him the mental reset, and he has taken off ever since he got that mental reset. It's everything. Sometimes you just need it. And that's why when we say the sick guys, it's not to say that they're bad players. It's to say, let them take a seat and let them self-reflect and mentally watch the game themselves and realize where they went wrong. And then they're going to come back 10 times stronger.
And it's also a reason why I got to give major credit to Jonathan Quick here, because they felt comfortable and they knew they had a reliable backup goalie who knew that could take the load off Igor. And he's had a fantastic season this year. He earned that contract extension. Now all that he's got to do is be part of, his hometown team lifting that cup over his head in June, hopefully.
Oh, absolutely. And I was looking for one of the comments in the chat was asking about if Jonathan Quick is going to get any games. I can't find it, but more than likely not. But I will say this. Peter Laviolette pushed another correct button there. And I know that a lot of people were on Igor. I was tough on Igor. But we all know Igor can be Igor. And this is the Igor that we know. The thing is that when you have a backup that's playing as well as he is and provides leadership and can come in and be that stabilizer behind him when your starter starts to falter, that's what Jonathan Quick did. And Laviolette knew that, and he understood it. I know what you were laughing at.
Marc.
I know what you were laughing at. I saw it right away.
John.
Marc.
Marc, I got your Blake Griffin jersey still.
And the mini basketball.
Oh yeah, I gotta get the basketball too.
Yes, and like Marc said, definitely check out these guys on Ranger Central. They make some great quality shit.
Do you got the $15 pump you spent that didn't work?
Yeah, I still got it.
Oh, these guys are great. Definitely check out their stuff, their videos. I've actually been watching a few of Nick's videos on his channel and just his live reaction videos, and it's just funny. The dialogue between who he's watching with is just,
his dad is so funny.
It's great. It really is.
The Derek Stepan.
The Derek Stepan one, yeah. Oh my God, for the Islanders game, that was great. That was great. It's funny because Nick and I actually have a close mutual friend. My friend Dan and Deanna, he actually did jiu-jitsu with them at the same place. So it's funny that name came up because he came up on my Facebook thing. I was like, how do you know Deanna? And she's like, I did jiu-jitsu with her. I was like, oh my God, I can't even believe that. So it's just funny that it's a small world and just that popped up, and I thought that was hilarious. But yes, Justin Filkowski.
And then we got Anthony Filkowski, your lovely husband.
Anthony Lynn Rocco.
Anthony Lynn.
Oh, but I love this comment right here. Big turning point of the season. Brady Tkachuk fighting Connor Mackey, and his team's up 2-0. And that Connor Mackey fight seemed to provide some sort of spark in this team that they just lacked for so long. Like for maybe a month and change up to that. It just, how funny is it that 2 different points, 2 different seasons, and you could point to 2 different points, little instances, little events that you wouldn't think really would matter in the grand scheme of things, but actually ended up being kind of pivotal in a way with the helmet throw last year. And then Mackey coming in and fighting Tkachuk, because they could have lost that game and things could have went south there and they could have stayed in that funk that they were in. But I mean, Connor Mackey, Black Ace territory. I mean, for me, if he had to get a game in, I'd be okay giving him a game.
Connor Mackey for the Conn Smythe.
I don't know. He's not on the depth chart, really. He's got to get by my guy, Chad Ruedel, which I got to say, I can't help but laugh that they gave up a 4th-round pick for an 8th defenseman. I'm sorry. It is funny to me still.
I just don't think that Chad Ruedel was – I thought it was an okay acquisition, but he has just looked – I don't know who's worse with the puck, him or Trouba.
Trouba for sure.
Yeah, but
maybe I just seen it more. I've seen it more, but Trouba.
At least Ruedel can play defense.
Ruedel can skate a little bit. Trouba is like, I think Molasses might be able to skate laps around Trouba. Like if you put like just a batch of molasses on the ice, I think you could get around and have a better all-star like speed skating lap time than Trouba. I think Trouba is just. I don't know how you regress that bad as a skater. Like he was an okay skater in Winnipeg. Now he looks like he's behind, like at times. But I hope that with him being on that third pairing, they could finally not expose him and not have him play 20 minutes. I just hope Laviolette sticks with this young pairing come playoff time, playing 20-plus minutes a game, because the results just do not lie. They don't.
He's one of the big reasons why I'm very concerned this playoff, because we saw it, 2022 in the conference final, they were up 2-0 against Tampa, and he was solely responsible for that Game 3 meltdown against Tampa. And it just, right from there, the series just collapsed.
Last year, he took way too long to throw a hit and wake his team up. I mean, that's not really as bad as the Tampa thing, but yeah, that Tampa series. Oh, God. And then right after, in Game 6, right after Vetrano scores, oh, my God, the PTSD's kicking in.
He just took way too many bad penalties in that series at unfortunate times.
Yep.
I mean, the Game 3, I mean...
I think Game 5, he had a bad penalty, too, in there. I could be wrong.
I think it was 2 consecutive penalties that he took in Game 3.
Well, Game 3, one of them was they were on the power play. The puck came back to him on the point. He couldn't catch it. The puck got by him, and he had to take a hooking penalty, I think. I forgot who it was on, though. But
I forgot which game it was, but I'll never forget him getting beat on a play in the neutral zone. He just goes football style and grabs a guy by the ankles to trip him. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Chris T on this. Hop on.
Yeah, Marc, let's
get on. Oh no, he's working.
Marc live from the bar.
Oh, Marc live from the bar would be great. Can we get drunk Marc live from the bar?
See, that would actually that would actually be bar talk.
That would be real bar talk. Guys, do I buy everybody around if the Islanders make the playoff? Meanwhile, the Islanders have already made the playoff.
Marc, I will say, though, your stint with Big Apple Hockey is on the line. If Pittsburgh misses the playoffs, you're going back to Small Apple Hockey. Oh, it's on the line.
Yeah. Oh, Marc getting demoted to Small Apple Hockey, a feed that he's not even involved in. I love it. Layup called from the bar. 71 watching and only 7 likes. We got 167 actually watching right now, as far as I can see.
I think 70 on YouTube.
70 on
YouTube.
Probably, yeah. But definitely. More like, share, and subscribe, please. We'll probably be doing a little more of these through the postseason. I'm going to try to be home a little more after the games.
John
Cam Talbot being mentioned.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Marc's about to have a meltdown because Cam Talbot was mentioned.
No, he's gonna have a field day because Talbot's shit in the bed right now. It looks like.
Oh, that too. Yeah, probably. Dominic Milford, they called some BS penalties on Lightning. Welcome to the show, Dominic. I don't think I've seen you in beer before. But they did call some BS penalties. I remember the linesman calling him for one where he was behind the net. So he was just bad in that series. I'm sorry, but he was just brutal. And that's the thing. Teams that can skate really, really, like, they just have field days with him. It almost reminds me of the 2005-2006 series between the Sabres and the Senators. And the Sabres absolutely exposed Zdeno Chara's lack of speed in that series. And they skated circles all around Ottawa, which I didn't think was going to happen because Ottawa was one of the best teams in the league. But Buffalo was just, man. And that's what it's like. And that's why, you know what, honestly, I mean, I'm cool with avoiding Tampa in the first round. If they have to play them in the conference finals, bring them on at that point. But I have some other ones that we'll go through here. This is an interesting one, though. Top 10 in goals for, goals against, power play, and penalty kill. Will the 5-on-5 play be an issue? And if so, how much of an issue?
Honestly, they live and die by it at this point. Like, the special teams, it's gotten them far before it got them far in 2022. But if you want to win it all, you got to at least be half decent at 5v5. Like, there just has to be better play. A game like tonight definitely helps out my confidence level and the fact that they've been generating chances more at 5v5 lately. But you could generate all the chances you want. If you face a hot goalie, though, at some point, you're going to have to just bury the puck in the net. It doesn't matter how many chances you generate. At some point, the puck's got to go in the net. So it's the biggest thing. Like, outside of Jacob Trouba, this is the biggest question mark that I have, and it's a very big question mark.
Yeah, that's probably my same with you, like Evan. It's probably my biggest question mark as well. And it's not only just like the first line, third line. I think it's all four lines really, and we're gonna see from game one with the second line. When the ice tightens up, is Panarin gonna be ready? Is he gonna take the next step? I think he will personally, and I think two big reasons. One, I think Laviolette. I think the system will get the best out of that line, and two, Alexi Lafreniere is going to be a big part of that second line in the power play, because I think teams now view him as a threat, as a puck carrier up the ice, and I think he's just going to open up space for Panarin to do his thing in the playoffs.
That was another thing for me. And now, in looking back at the lines that he's played with in years past, you played with Ryan Strome and Jesper Fast his first year there. Then you had the I guess revolving door of guys like Colin Blackwell and others in 2021. You had Dryden Hunt with them at one point in 2022. And then last year, he really didn't have anybody until they tried the Kane experiment, and then they broke that up for a little bit and so on. But Alexi Lafreniere really has been the first winger that Artemi Panarin has truly had that has been able to be a play driver on the opposite side wing on that line. And I think that's a big reason why we've seen the best version of Artemi Panarin that we've seen this year. Another thing for me is that Ryan Strome wasn't the gritty player that would go in and win those loose puck battles and those 50-50 races and so on. And those things are so important in playoff time. They're so overlooked by many that don't have a higher grasp of the game, not to come off condescending or anything like that. But I think there are a lot of fans that just don't understand how vital those things are. Vincent Trocheck does a lot of those things while being someone who is as skilled, probably more skilled than Ryan Strome.
We saw it tonight.
Yeah, you saw it tonight. And I think that having those two assets on his line will help him avoid a lot of the dumb drop passes that he was doing in previous years. And really, I think the mentality has kind of been beaten into his head, and you've seen it. Attack the middle. Go get to that spot. Go take the shot. Shooting through screens. Seeing things that we haven't seen from Artemi Panarin in recent years. My biggest concern is 20 and 93 and whoever ends up on the other wing. That's my biggest thing, because those guys, and I think they skated the best they've skated all season tonight. I swear, Zibanejad looked like he had a rocket strapped to his ass. And Kreider, he made one play on, I'm not sure if it was a penalty kill, but the Senators' defenseman was going back for the puck. And then all of a sudden, out of the bottom of the screen, you see Chris Kreider bearing down on him. He has no idea Kreider's coming. No idea. So if Kreider could have gotten that puck, Kreider could have walked in. But I hadn't seen Chris Kreider skate like that all year. And to me, now does Roslovic take charge and seeing that, wow, my two line mates are going balls to the wall. Do I go now too? Now, is this where he steps up? Or does whoever ends up playing with him, do they take that message? And then we're like, wow, you know what? I need to match their intensity. That's the big thing for me. Because that line is going to be key. I'm not worried about that second line anymore, Panarin. I'm not. I'm really not. It's that first line that has to step up and has to start scoring somewhat consistently for them to be able to win. Because a one-line team ain't winning the playoffs at all.
It's why we're very critical of guys like Kreider and Mika, because we know they're capable of playing this well. We know they are. They're very talented players. We've never said that they're bad hockey players. Our problem has always been a consistency issue with them, because we've seen they'll have a couple games where they play 2 games well, and then it'll be followed up by 6 games of them being invisible. And it was the same thing like Roslovic. I know when Roslovic first came in, those first 3 games, he had a big impact on that line. With him forechecking, him creating some goals, and Mika and Kreider benefited off it. But then they went for a long stretch of games where they looked invisible again. So if they can take that next step forward and start putting in consistent efforts from game to game to game, then I think this team will be dangerous and a threat. But if they revert back to going 1 good game, 3 bad games, 1 good game, 3 bad games, I don't think this team is going to go that far.
No, it would have to be Phil Chytil coming back in and playing on the third line and willing that third line to start scoring for this team to have a chance.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I keep seeing his comments. I don't think I've seen this person before. Welcome to the show, David. But why so negative? All of your comments have been super, super negative. Watch 10 disappear, turnover machine in neutral zone. I don't think that second part is even accurate. Turnover machine in neutral zone. Where are the turnovers in the neutral zone for Panarin? I don't see them. Am I the only one that's not seeing them?
I mean, I thought he had a couple tonight, but I don't think it was just him. I think it was that whole second line. They were forcing a lot of east-west passes. But for the majority of the season, I don't think he's turned over the puck in the neutral zone a lot.
And I think a lot of it has to do with what you were talking about, Matt, which I want to talk about more, or both of you, I should say, where he's more confident in the fact that Trocheck and Lafreniere could win those puck battles for him if he moves the puck up the damn ice. And how many times did we see it with Ryan Strome and Andrew Kopp when that line was together, and they would always defer to Panarin, and Panarin would get double team and panic and turn the puck over. I think it's completely different.
It's a troll, apparently. I think that's the second comment I've gotten saying that he's basically a troll. So yeah, we'll just ignore those comments from now on. Hey guys, maybe Mika has a better playoff. John, thank you as always. Appreciate that. But yes, fingers crossed. Definitely
speak it into existence, please.
Yeah. Speaking into manifesting that crazy run that Zibanejad had from game 4 of the Pittsburgh series until maybe the start of the Tampa series that he had. I mean, if he could get on one of those types of runs, that would be just amazing. That would be the Mika Zibanejad that the team needs. I mean, he has proven that he can just get hot in the playoffs, but I don't know if he was playing with an injury all year, but I'm going to say it again. The best I've seen him skate all year tonight. Absolute best. There was a purpose to his game, and that's the type of play. That's the type of play that you need. That's why guys like Messier won cups, because Messier, when that happened, when the game was on the line, he came out and you just knew he was playing with a vigor and a purpose and intent and just something resolve behind him. New daddy, I mean, V-Rai says, yeah, I mean, that could be it too.
Prove Mike Enwire for life wrong.
Yeah, prove Mike Enwire. Listen, I don't think we'll ever see 2019, 2020 Mika ever again. But if they could get any sort of resemblance to that kind of Mika, then I think they do have a good shot.
Yeah.
They need that Mika who could score in multiple ways, breakaway, one-timer, carrying the puck up the ice, a nice shot from the slot. And listen, we've been very critical of Mika this year, and he hasn't had a great season. But listen, Game 1 starting on Sunday. When that puck drops for Game 1, whatever has happened over the last 6.5 months, it's irrelevant now. New story to be written. So that goes for everybody. New slate. Go out, write the story, bring it home.
I'm going to go and I'm going to reference WWE, and I am going to go full Cody Rhodes here. It is time to finish the story. They need to win. They need to lift that cup, and this is probably going to be the best chance that they will have with this core. They cannot waste this. They can't. And they can't. And Peter Laviolette, to me, moving Trouba down to the third pairing
says a lot.
Says a lot about how serious he is about winning this cup this year. Because I gotta say, it's a ballsy move to make. You have an $8 million defenseman that wears the captaincy. Like, to move him down to the third pairing, that's a gutsy move for a coach, because that can be taken with a lot of flack and a lot of media distraction. So that's a big move. And I don't like making 94 comparisons, guys. I obviously I led him with that before, but when I watched the Road to Victory 94 Stanley Cup video, and I've watched that video so many times on YouTube, one of the things that John Delapina says is that when they went out and they traded Amonte, Gartner, and all those other James Patrick, all those other guys, he was covering the Devils at the time, and he said the Devils locker room started to get an idea of just how serious the Rangers were about going all in. And to me, I have to draw a parallel here, because that pairing was a pairing that 3 coaches had refused to break up. And Laviolette finally pulls the trigger. Oh, yeah! Hey!
Doing a quick little cameo appearance. Had some time. I walked into the back, and right now they can see me on the TV out there. So they know I'm right here. Where are we at right now? What's the topic you guys are on?
I just drew a parallel. Mark, you've seen the 94 Road to Victory video, right? With the fans, like boomers in it, and the fans and stuff. God, amazing. But so in that video, John Delapina talks about like how the Devils, the mic. Oh my God! But live for the meeting.
Yeah. Quite literally, we got the freezer. Oh wait, this is the fridge.
I can't.
Freezer's over here.
I can't. But John Delapina talks about how he was covering the Devils and how when the Rangers made the trades at the deadline, the Devils were talking amongst themselves, and they got the message of how serious the Rangers were about going all in and winning the whole damn thing. Peter Laviolette, to me, made a similar type of move by demoting Trouba to that third pairing, because that's an $8 million defenseman that wears your C. Like, that's a tough move to make.
Guys, I know we were joking around about this on all of our Twitter threads about how Jacob Trouba correctly predicted in 2 years Braden Schneider was going to take his job. Well, it's time now. And it had to happen because he had to go down. As all of you guys have been very critical about Jacob Trouba. It's also been obvious because he's been out for the last month, and Schneider and Miller were actually better. So you gotta just roll with it. And yes, it took somebody with the credentials like Peter Laviolette that had to get done.
You know what? I've been very critical of this leadership group. I know you guys are all familiar with my posts after the Devils series, my posts earlier on.
Watched it last night.
January, February, everything. But Romanello brings up a great point here. I mean, it takes a real special type of coach to make that move, a real special team to accept that. And I'll give credit to Trouba here. It takes a man to accept this and understand it. It really does. And he is taking it in stride. And I think it's going to benefit him. I do. And it not only that, but it has to benefit him. It has to benefit him. It has to benefit the team. Because if he can't respond to this, then things aren't going to go well for them.
And guys, I'm just gonna have one last word, and then I'll jump off for you. I'll go back to watching you. But Phil, you're right about that because he's also got to start thinking about the next place because he's not going to finish his career as a New York Ranger. And being the captain is a great thing. Him being able to take the demotion is possibly the best leadership he's shown. Yeah. And talent-wise, we could argue about his talent for a while. And I've been critical about the contract that they signed with him, especially that they were bidding against themselves. But I will say this, and then, like I said, I'll get off. If he gets dealt next year, he might get an A somewhere else, or maybe even a C. Who knows? But Trouba's got to think about the rest of his career, not just this season. Go win. Because having that ring is going to help him out a lot more.
Yeah. I think he froze. I'm not really sure.
All right.
But...
And by the way, thank you,
he's in the
boys.
freezer.
I will try to serve up some layups Wednesday.
Yeah.
Playoff layups.
Playoff
layups. Here we go.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still games going on too. I mean, we got games until Thursday, so I mean, you can still serve some regular season layups too.
Gonna have to be doing that. There's gonna be a lot of them. And again, guys, sometimes layups are by design. Also, sometimes
by design.
But that's a
by
story.
design.
All right, guys, take it easy.
Oh God.
Oh, our fearless leader, Marc Williams. Small Apple Hockey's
on the horizon.
Small Apple Hockey's scoring ace, Marc Williams. His line is literally called Lob City.
With Blake Griffin. No, but
Yeti's barf. Oh God, great.
To get back to the point you were making about it being a ballsy move in general, that could have pushed the wrong button too with this team, like we saw with Couturier with Torts.
Yeah, you're right about that, and I'll have to go back to the point I made earlier about there not being a schism or a rift between the players and the coaches. And that's why I think this move was able to happen the way that it did. I mean, we have just a different dynamic between the coaches and the players now. And seeing the coaches get as happy as they get with the players on the benches, especially like after the Islanders win that stadium series. That you saw the footage, and the players and the coaches are all over each other like they just won the damn cup. It's amazing. We haven't seen vibes like that in a very long time. This is the most unified I have seen a team. I know I've said this on one of our streams a while back, that this is the most unified I've seen this team probably since Marty St. Louis' mother died.
That pushed on that 2014 team to make the final.
It's also a lot easier to buy into a coach when the last coach was an idiot and you win the President's Trophy.
Yeah. And you know what? I just think that there's a different type of handling from Laviolette and the staff. And then when you have a guy like Phil Housley in there, who's one of the best defensemen of all time, one of the best puck movers, who understands really how to like get up into the play and back into the play. I mean, it's something else. I think there is a level of respect from the players to the coaching staff that there just wasn't previously, because the same type of respect that you have to give towards the players wasn't being given at all. At all. I don't think Gallant respected the players the way that Laviolette does. And they fight for each other. And that's how you have to do it. You win as a team, you lose as a team. And everybody's a part of that team. The coaching staff, the players, the equipment managers, everybody, up and down. And I just think there's a completely different vibe.
And you hear the difference when Laviolette calls out a player versus when Gallant was doing that. Like, Laviolette, he'll subtly call players out, but like also will be like, yeah, as a team, we need to be better, instead of just directly being like, this guy just wasn't good enough. Like, he'll call it out as a team. So you're right about that. And we heard it too in Gallant's exit interview when he's just like, just because you have all this talent doesn't mean you could win, or whatever. I'm paraphrasing whatever he said, but he said some garbage along those lines. Guy was an idiot.
This is why I'm not really, concerned about the coaching staff. It's more of the players and the leadership group for me. And here's the reason why. I'm not fully 100% bought in on this team yet that they're ready and able to buy in. They look good tonight, and also another big thing is we've seen this group, and not even just this group specifically, but other Ranger groups. They've been able to come back down from series. We've seen it multiple times. They were down 3-1. To Pittsburgh, both those groups, Washington, the 14-15 or the 14-15 group. It's not that the fact that I don't think they can come back when they're down. It's more the fact, can they respond to adversity when they've had the momentum and they lose it? Because we've seen up 2-0 against Tampa, lost the series. They lost game 3, lost the series. Up 2-0 against the Devils, lost game 3, ultimately losing that series. This is why, for me, I really wanted them to secure this President's Trophy, because I feel like when you lead something, and especially not just the President's Trophy, but the division, when you lead something for a whole season and you lose it right at the end, it plays mentally on you, and you start to have doubts creeping. This is why you see like me and Evan, we're big Met fans. But this is why, like, what happened to the Mets in 2022, when they led the division all year and Atlanta pimped the division right at the end, it played a serious mental effect on them, and it's part of the reason why they went on and lost that wild card series to the Padres. Yep. Listen, I know people might say, oh, 1 and 2 seed doesn't matter, but when you lead something from the beginning of the year, you want to make sure you finish that out. And luckily for them, it came close, but they were able to do it.
And home ice is everything when you have the matchups, especially with a coach that knows what he's doing. That's the other point I've been preaching, is that this is what Laviolette's here for. He's here with X's and O's, and he actually has game plans, and he can make adjustments easier if you have home ice throughout more times in the series than not.
Yeah, I mean, and Matt's right. You're like, if they would have lost this President's Trophy, I mean, I can't even imagine the type of effect that would have had on the team. Not that I think that it would have completely killed them, but it definitely would have had an impact, and not in a good way. You like you said, you have something, and you have the lead in the league for so long, and then you just lose it at the end of the season. That's not. You want to go into the playoffs on a high note, no matter what it is. Whether you're in third place and you finish strong, whether you claw into the playoffs, doesn't matter. You want to go in on a high note. I mean, the best example I can think of regarding this is probably two of them. They're both from California in two different sports. The 2012 Kings and the 2002 Angels. The 2002 Angels went into the playoffs. They had to fight and claw and get in. They upset the Yankees. They get all the way to the World Series, and they're playing prime steroid Barry Bonds and Jeff Kent. And that Giants team on paper was a better team. But the Angels won. because they had been playing playoff baseball for months and months and months just to try to get in. So
Dave's comment too is right.
2023 Panthers,
2023 Panthers, 2019 Blues. 2019 Blues is probably the most extreme example you'll ever see. I don't think you're ever going to see another example like that in your life. So
Probably
if you
not,
want to watch a last place team on January 1st win a Stanley Cup, go watch their games. It's just crazy.
I mean, even like obviously different sport, like you said with the Angels, but the Mets in 2015, middling 500 team around the deadline, had the huge addition with Cespedes. They played really good up until the playoffs, and it unfortunately they came up short in 2015, but it got them all the way to the World Series.
And this is why, too, I say with the President's Trophy that when people are like, it's a curse, it's like, no, because first of all, one team wins it. Two, more times than not, the team that wins the President's Trophy has it locked up really early in the season. The Rangers had to go through adversity and fight and claw. And as much as we were pissed off in the moment with how January went and how, the last, maybe even like 3 weeks ago, them dropping a couple games, how annoyed we were. It might be a blessing in disguise that they had to go through this adversity to win the President's Trophy because you get momentum off of that. You get a lot of it, and it gives you a sense of belief and fight that you had to get through that and win these games.
2 examples. 2019 Lightning, 2023 Bruins. What adversity do those teams face?
Yep.
And that's why they flamed out the way that they did in the first round, both of them. I mean, Random Aussie, I saw your comments before. We're not talking blind. No, we just have some other things. But you actually segue me into my final little discussion bullet point here that I had lined up. And then I'll take some questions for maybe about like 10, 15 minutes. And because I'm going to have to call it a night because I got work in the morning. But what is the best matchup for the Rangers in the first round? I mean, is it Detroit? Is it Philadelphia? Is it the slow and aging Capitals? Are they are more of a menace because
Marc's Penguins?
Physical?
Marc's.
What's that?
Or is it Marc's Penguins?
Marc's Penguins? Yeah, I mean, what is the best matchup? I mean, for me, I look at Detroit. I look at Detroit because I see a team that's young, inexperienced. They're not overly physical. Their defense isn't strong, and their goaltending is not exactly elite either. In Pittsburgh, you're going to get a core that knows how to win. I mean, between Malkin, Letang, Crosby, and Carter, you have what, like 12 cups between them? Something like that? 11 cups, I think it is. Yeah, it's 11 cups between the 4 of those guys. And I mean, they have, and this is another thing. You may have to find them at, you may have to deal with the refs and them because it just seems like every time they're in the playoffs, they get some help.
I don't think they're gonna see Pittsburgh though, which I hope they don't because we've been there enough. I want somebody a little more different this time around. I don't like picking an opponent, but I do agree that Detroit would be cool because I was looking before on my stream because somebody asked the question. They haven't played each other since 1950 in the playoffs, which is just wild. I think it's going to be Detroit or Washington. I think Detroit, I think it's fair with the reasons you mentioned. And every time they win games, they are so cocky and arrogant. I'm sorry, but they act like they won the Stanley Cup every time they win a freaking game. But Washington, I don't know. Like, if you're the best team, you should be able to beat either of these teams. To me, whoever it is, just bring them on. Like, bring them on and just take care of business. I don't think it's going to be Pittsburgh or Philly. It's probably going to be Washington or Detroit. Whoever it is, bring them on and win.
Yeah, that's the same for me. Listen, if this team is as good as they really are, best team in the league, best Ranger team in franchise history, shouldn't matter who they play. Bring on whoever. Yeah,
and that's the thing. If you're that good, you shouldn't have to worry about a first round matchup. And it's just it's something fun to surmise about, discuss, but in the end, whoever they play in that seed is a team that they have to beat in no more than 5, maybe 6 games. You don't even really want to go 6 with a first round team like that, but it's got to be 5. And no, we don't know until Thursday. I would say I don't.
No, I think tomorrow we could find out, because tomorrow's Washington, Philly. If Washington wins, they get the spot, and Detroit I think plays tomorrow. No, do they?
Detroit does play tomorrow. They have a back-to-back with the Canadiens. So
tomorrow we'll find out, because, or at least most likely we'll find out, because the scenarios Frank Saravalli put up, if Washington wins, they get the spot.
Yeah.
Or if they get 1 point versus the Flyers and Detroit loses to Montreal, and then 1 point, and then the Penguins lose, then they get the spot. I think they beat Philly, so I'm at the point where I think it's going to be Washington, but if they lose and Detroit wins, then it's Detroit. So we could find out tomorrow.
Yeah. Does Pittsburgh...
They have one more game against the Islanders on Wednesday.
Yeah.
At UBS.
Yeah, it's Wednesday. And I mean, the Islanders really don't have anything to play for in that game.
No. So Pittsburgh will probably win, but the problem is they need Washington and Detroit to lose. It could be either in overtime or regulation, but they need both of them to lose if they want to make the playoffs. That's probably that's how unlikely it probably is for them to make it.
Yeah, it's definitely very, very unlikely. And Pittsburgh, I mean, just a superhuman effort from Sidney Crosby. As much as none of us can stand him, and he really has cemented himself as a top 10 player of all time, like undoubtedly right now. He just got his 1,000th assist, and now all of a sudden he's got like 94, 95 points now after tonight, which 90, is great. What's up?
Yeah, well, I don't know if it updated, but it's 92 points.
No, I don't think that's updated.
No, okay.
I don't. Yeah, I don't think that's updated, because he definitely got a bunch of points in this game. No, he had 2 points in this game. Yeah, no, it's definitely not, because 42.
Yeah, it's at 42.50, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
so it is
92.
Okay, I thought he had 92 entering the game. Okay. No, he's got 92. And I mean, he's 6 points away from 1,600 and 8 goals away from 600, which is crazy. He would be in a very, very rare club in terms of his scoring prowess. But I'll give him credit. But I'll tell you, Pittsburgh would, if I had to rank them, Pittsburgh would be the last team out of those teams. But I'm not really even scared of Pittsburgh. I just don't think they have what it takes anymore. I think that their effort would be valiant, but I think ultimately they would fall short with whoever they would end up playing in a playoff series, because it's just the core, the way they're constructed, it just doesn't bode well for playoff hockey for them.
Yeah, it's just more annoying. Like, we've seen them before. Like, we've seen Pittsburgh enough. I want something different. Either way, like, I feel confident against any of these teams. Just, I just don't want it to be Pittsburgh just because of that. Like, we've been there, done that with them.
Yeah, and that's part of why I want the playoff format to change. I think we need to get away from this playoff format, because we keep seeing repeat matchups. I mean, who wants to see LA and Edmonton for the 3rd year in a row? It gets annoying.
The only thing I will enjoy is Boston, Toronto again, if that happens. Oh, yeah, if that happens, that'd be hilarious.
Yeah, I think Toronto would beat them this time around.
Really?
Yeah, I really.
You know
do.
What? I might agree with that. I don't trust Boston.
I don't trust the center core at all.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I don't trust their center core. Their goaltending is not as good this year as it was last year, and although their defense is still really good, outside of Pasternak and Marchand, who is going to put the puck in the net for them come playoff time?
My guy, Danton Heinen.
Yeah, our boy Dan Heinen.
Heinen? Okay. I mean, that would be
Walmart Hyman.
I mean, unless Jake DeBrusk would take a big step, but I don't know.
I don't see it.
Doesn't seem like that guy.
I don't see it. I don't see it from him. I don't see it from Zaka. I don't see it from Cuylle. I really don't. And I mean, this would be another fun matchup here. The Knights and Dallas in the first round. You have two excellent teams that just would kick the crap out of each other. That one would go 7 games in the first round.
That was last year's Western Conference Final.
Yeah.
And that's why a big part of the reason for me why I want the Rangers to finish these series as early as possible. And I think with the East being much more wide open than the West, you look at some of those Western matchups, they have the potential to go 6 or 7 games, a lot of them. So if the Rangers could get through the first 2 rounds as quickly as possible and avoid series fatigue and injury, then they might have a big advantage with whoever they play in the West.
And it's crazy how round 1 could be, you got the Avalanche and Jets, and then on the same side of the bracket there, Stars and Knights. That round 2 alone, no matter who wins, that's ridiculous. Like, that's another reason the format needs to change, because some of these should be conference finals matchups. Like Dallas and Winnipeg, if they were to make it to round 2, that would be my pick out of those matchups. That should be a conference finals matchup.
Yeah, these are conference finals caliber matchups. Another one that I think is going to be really interesting, this one here. That series a few years back was awesome between Tampa and Florida, that first one. I would love to see this again.
I didn't even think about that. If Florida takes the division, yeah, they're going to play Tampa. I was thinking just about Toronto and Boston, but yeah.
Yeah, that would be just sick. I would love to see that, because that would be...
Let all these teams beat each other up. This is why getting the President's Trophy was key.
Yeah.
Looking at all these teams that they might play against, would you rather play all these teams that are lined up potentially for the Rangers, or deal with a team like Tampa round 1, or the Islanders, or whoever else it may have been?
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing, and that's it. I mean, seeding matters. It really does, because it can give you an easier and quicker road to the Cup. I mean, it really can. It's big. So you gotta take advantage of that, and you gotta finish off whoever you face in round 1 in 5 games or less. I would say I would want to go no more than 6. I mean, if depending on who you get and how tough of a series that is, I mean, it may have to go to 6, but you really don't want to go any more than 5 against some of these teams, and I don't think they should have to. I'm gonna go through some of these starred comments that I have here, so because I don't have any more talking points. Honestly, I kind of went over all the things that kind of outlooked everything and kind of encapsulated the season as well. So rate Will Cuylle's rookie campaign and predict his playoff run.
Interesting, because I was actually having this conversation with Matt recently. Like, we talked about Will Cuylle, because I think down the stretch here, he's kind of been underwhelming to me a bit. I think he hit a bit of a rookie wall here, because in the first part of the season, he was so dynamic and he was adding scoring to the lineup. Now it's a little more inconsistent what he brings, but I do think, he is a rookie. So come playoff time, he's going to have another jump in his game. I feel like come playoff time, he's going to really turn it up. Maybe I'm just being overly optimistic because I just want the playoffs already and I'm excited, but I would rate it, like, if I'm going from a scale of 1 to 10, I'll say, like, given the role that he's in, because it's unfair to rate him based on, like, other rookies in the league, like Bedard, guys like that. Based on what he is as like a role player, I'd say like a 7.5.
Yeah, same for me. He came in, he earned this spot through preseason. He played well. I mean, he finished the year with 21 points, so not bad for your rookie year. But yeah, I think it's kind of a natural progression where he started off well, and this was really his first year where he's playing pretty much every game, and he's not used to that just yet. I think as we'll see as the years go on, I think more and more we'll see him be more effective down the stretch for this team. But just because it is his first year, it's his first true, first true like playoff run right now. I think he'll be all right for the playoffs, especially now with the Rangers having 5 days off till Sunday, game 1. I think now he'll have the time to recharge, fully get back to how close he can get up to 100% if he is dealing with any kind of injury, which I don't think he is. But that third line's gonna be big for us, and he needs to be a big part on that third line.
Yeah, I was gonna go somewhere between, I would maybe say 6.5, 7. And you're definitely right, Evan, about scaling it to not compare him to other rookies like Bedard and Faber and Marchenko and so on, and because that's just not fair. He's not going to get those scoring opportunities and play with those types of players. But for what they brought him in to do, and for the energy and the physical play that he's brought to the lineup, it's been something that they've lacked. And I've called him the Rangers' own Tom Wilson minus the scummy shit. But that's what he was brought in to be, and that's what they envisioned when they drafted him with that second round pick in 2020 that they got for Elias Anderson. So for me, I want to, you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna go to an 8. I'm gonna be even more generous after thinking about this, because I think that, yes, I do agree that he's hit a rookie wall. I do agree with that. But this team has needed bottom 6 depth for a while. And not only bottom 6 depth, but physical, big, and skilled bottom 6 depth. And he has fit this team to a T. I think part of the reason why their identity is that no quit, we can come back from anything type of mentality is because they have guys like him that can come in and wear down teams. I look to another sport. I look to football, and I look at that first Giants Super Bowl with Coughlin. And I don't know if any of you guys are Giants fans or remember this, but they had that running back trio of Bradshaw, Jacobs, and Ware, and it was called Earth, Wind, and Fire. And each one of them brought a different element, and they wore the shit out of every opposing defensive line that they played and secondary, because you had Jacobs that would come in, and he was just the physical guy, and he was just big, bruising, and he just wore down front sevens. And then you had a change of pace throughout the game. You bring in Ware or Bradshaw, and these guys could just come in and slice up defenses at that point, and they were key. Will Cuylle is doing the same type of thing for this team, if you ask me.
In general, it's so nice to see the Rangers actually like addressing depth players in the draft, where with the late round picks, they'll try and like they'll overcomplicate it. They used to, at least with older regimes, where drafting goalies, which is just ridiculous. I think we all know who I'm referring to with that. But now you're seeing them actually draft guys like Edstrom, draft guys like Rempe, and like that helps you out so much down the road in terms of your cap in general too, because now you could actually utilize your cap on the top 6 versus utilizing it on bottom 6 guys, which is what we have with Gaudreau right now.
Yeah,
go ahead, man.
No, I was just saying we criticize Chris Drury a lot, but one of the big things where I got to give a major credit to is the construction and the drafting of the bottom 6, because you, like we said, you got guys like Cuylle, Edstrom, Rempe, Offman, Sikora, Berard. These guys are going to come up and they're going to fill the bottom 6. So you don't have to go out and overpay for guys like a Barclay Goodrow, like we've seen they've done over the past couple of years. And this is what Cup contenders do. You look at not Nashville, but you look at Colorado, Tampa. Look at all their bottom 6. They're all guys that were drafted and developed by them, which then allow them to to spend big money on the big top 6 guys or the big defenseman or the big goalie.
Yeah, and I can add another name to that, Yaroslav Milaj. I mean, he comes up and he looks like he's great in Hartford right now. He's producing. He's got size, skill, speed, physical play. That's another big skater that plays a physical north-south game with speed that can really contribute to what this team wants to do. And that was, it kind of leads me into this because if you're being honest, I'd call up Edstrom.
Edstrom's got to be a black ace here, yeah.
I really think Adam Edstrom can make a difference on that 4th line. And I know that
I wish he was playing.
If you get Filipino back, you can start moving guys down. But having someone that's 6'6", 6'7", with that type of speed, that type of physical play, and that type of skill You add that to your bottom six becomes that much harder to play against. And remember, the Rangers in 2014 were sort of reminiscent to the Smurfs of the 70s and the 80s, where they got pushed around by bigger teams like LA in 2014, Montreal in 79, and the Islanders throughout the 80s. But you go and you start adding guys like Edstrom and Rempe to that lineup, and that you can just funnel them in whenever need be. That gives the Rangers a different look, and that may make some teams think like, oh shit, we're in for it tonight or this series. You know, especially if they, let's just say they run a lineup where it's like Brodzinski and Gaudreau and VC on the fourth line. And then the next game they want to put Edstrom in. I'm not saying this is likely to happen, but what happens if they go and they put Edstrom and Rempe in there and stuff like that? If you're the opposition, you're looking at that and saying, hey, this is going to be a long friggin' night, man.
Yeah, you're in for a long night of hitting.
Yeah,
be ready.
Yeah, and that's what Keenan was able to do in '94. So he was able to get those guys in and rotate them in properly. I think Laviolette understands how to do that. I wonder if he will. The quote came out from Laviolette today, and he said that Rempe is playoff ready, he believes. So that's a good sign if you ask me.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to utilize him at certain points if he feels it's necessary. I agree with your point that he knows with rotating the lineup well. So I think he gets a game or two every now and then.
Ooh,
I actually agree with this take from
Rob. You know what? I'm kind of on board with this too.
As long as Chytil's back, and Chytil's back and he's playing on that top line, then yeah. But even then, this might even be a hotter take. I've been saying it. I wouldn't even care honestly anymore. Like Roslovic to me doesn't even move me to the point where I would even be okay with VC freaking playing up there and putting like Edstrom down there on the fourth line. Like, I'm sorry, Roslovic just does not move me. And I know he had the goal tonight, but unless he's playing like that on a nightly basis, I don't see it with him. And we've seen more the other side where he just has not been good.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of been a non-factor for me, where he's just not moving the needle or doing anything. I really wonder about him come playoff time. I really do, and that's my biggest concern. Is that if that top line stagnates, will they move him off that top line? But Laviolette has already shown that he's not afraid to scratch him, which is good, which again shows that he can push the right buttons and he's serious about this. So Firestorm, I don't think we're going to worry about Jack Roslovic being re-signed. I don't think he's getting re-signed at all. I don't know. Regardless of what happens, I think he's gone.
I don't think Wenberg stays either, especially now that we know Chytil's coming back. Yeah. That was the only chances if Chytil was done. There's no way Wenberg stays either. Like, these guys are pure rentals. And this was a point that you made earlier on, though, that I wanted to get back to, is when you were saying, like, just bringing up how that 94 team went all in. That's the only thing still I wish this team did. Like, hindsight is what it is with the deadline, and it is what it is. You just hope the pieces fall in place and things work out. But there are times where I'm just looking and I wish that they did find a way to get Gensel. Or even without getting Gensel, like, I would have rather them spend the assets to get Duclair, just seeing even what he's doing. Like, that's how annoyed I am with Roslovic.
I rather would have seen Vetrano 2.0 than Duclair, to be honest with you. Duclair, something about him just doesn't move the needle for me. I see a little bit of Roslovic. I see a guy who's a little more shoot first, but plays a very similar type of game based on speed and skill and finesse that doesn't really battle hard. Like, I don't see that compete level from him. I don't.
I had the same questions, but like, I'm at the point where with Roslovic, it's like, that's how disappointing that he is, that I would have been okay with Duclair at this point. Like, but even then, it wouldn't have moved me that much.
Yeah, I mean, he may be doing well in Tampa, Chris, but I don't know. He just doesn't really do it for me.
At least they didn't get Pacioretty, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, Barabanov. They wanted Barabanov, and that trade fell through. And San Jose beat writer actually wrote about that because of the Tomas Hertl trade. That's why it fell through. Go through some of these other ones here. Oh, B-Rye, this is actually a good one from him. He sent this a while back. Why it took almost 3 years for Trouba to be dropped down, even though it's been evident for quite some time. I'll tell you right now, David Quinn, you could have had me in there with a Coaching for Dummies 101 book, and I would have done a better job than David Quinn did. I mean, all the stuff that's ever come out about David Quinn has been 100% accurate. Like, you get guys like what Ryan Spooner said about him. Like, other players have corroborated it. The exit interviews were not kind to David Quinn at all either. They just – and then he had the audacity to go on with the Cam and Strick podcast and say that the players failed him. And that just goes to show you what type of clown and poor leader of men he is. So David Quinn is just terrible. Gallant ended up being a fraud that was advertised as something greater than what he was. And, I mean, I got to give it to Satboy Steven. Even from the time that he was hired, he kept asking, why is it that Gallant lasts 2.5, maybe 3 seasons wherever he goes? And the first year is always good, and then the next 2 are crap. And it happened, and it happened a lot quicker this time around. So
He didn't even get 2 years.
He didn't even get 2.5 years. He got 2 years, and that was it.
I'd like to speak to Kevin Rooney again because I saw him outside of the Garden after a game in 2021-22, that season with Gallant when they first got him. And I asked him, like, you like it more under Gallant or Quinn? And he's like, you see the record, right? And I just was cracking up so much that he said that. But I'm curious what he thought about Gallant by the end of things now.
Yeah.
Now that we know everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, Quinn was just – he's not an NHL coach. And the second San Jose gets any resemblance of being a good playoff team again, he's out of there. They're getting rid of him. And Gallant just had no balls. And you saw it right from the start of that of last year's season, 22-23, when Trouba was playing with an injury, and he wouldn't let Gallant take him out of the lineup.
I brought that up on Twitter, 2 weeks ago? I found the Vince Cogliano tweet.
That's when you knew that's like, okay, this guy's a fraud.
Yeah, it's bad. You can't let a player force the hand over the coach, and that's how I knew that Gallant was just not worth it at all.
And this it's kind of why I've always stood by the point of this is an upstairs thing, because I've always said it just doesn't make sense how 3 coaches in a row can have the same lineup decisions. It doesn't make sense. I think maybe now with Laviolette, since he is this respected coach, one of the best American coaches of all time, obviously won a cup with Carolina, took Carolina, Nashville, and Philly all to the final. I think maybe Drury finally kind of woke up and said, okay, maybe let's collaborate, let's listen to Lavi, and maybe let's start making some of these lineup decisions different.
I think maybe it's also what we talked about before, where Trouba's just bought in. Like, this entire room is actually bought into what Laviolette's selling them versus what it's been in previous years, where you had Quinn, who's an idiot, and Gallant, who just didn't know what he was doing. I think Quinn should get fired from San Jose after this year. Like, the fact that there's pretty much a 20-point gap between them and the last place team in the Eastern Conference and the Blue Jackets, that's bad. Like, he's got to go after this year. A minus 146 goal differential.
Yeah.
I know that roster's not good, but he's an idiot. Like, you got to be able to at least get a little something more out of that than 19 wins. Like, they cannot be that bad.
No, and you got to remember they had Tomas Hertl for a good portion of the season and whatnot. So, that roster's bad. But for what that tells me is that the team there are many times where that team did not want to compete. I can't say enough. And I said it the minute they hired him. I was like, the only thing that they're going to get out of this hire is that they are going to be a draft lottery team for sure for the next like 2, 3, 4 years.
That's a fair reason to keep him.
I mean, listen, believe me, if they end up with the first pick this year and they get Mac and Celebrini and Will Smith comes over, I'm sure those two will be begging Mike Greer eventually for him to fire Quinn.
Yeah,
it will only be a matter of time.
I give it 1 year, like maybe next year's it, because they want to get one more lottery out of it.
Yeah, I don't see it lasting. I really don't. He has a shelf life, and he's not good with handling players either. He's just another one of those guys that I hated that Cam and Strick.
Oh, that thing pissed me off. The way he sounded so arrogant, like him acting like he's the reason Fox became a Norris defenseman. Like,
get out of here.
Shut up. Yeah, it took seriously. Jacques Martin coming in for that team to actually play some semblance of a defense. That was not you. When Lindy Ruff was there, that defense was a tire fire. It really felt like he relied on his assistants way too much also. Like,
oh, he did.
The team changed year after year. There was never an identity. With Lindy Ruff, we saw how they played defensively. Then Jacques Martin comes in, they play completely differently. Like, something's not adding up there with that.
Yeah, and you know what? It took Panarin a little bit. Panarin had his year was decent in 2021, but you saw the way that a lot of the players were affected by it. It wasn't that same run and gun nonsense from the year before, and things had to change there. They weren't going to win playing that type of hockey. You saw them get absolutely destroyed. They had no answer for Carolina in that bubble.
They had no balls. Washington bullied them, and I think obviously that whole incident like built character with them, but like you saw it then that there was just no balls with that team, and they had no desire to play for him at all. Like, I could rant about Quinn nonstop, and then him taking credit too for Mika's season that he had in 2019-20. Do you want to take credit for the fact that Mika's not been that player since, because you were there the year after too, Quinn? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, This comment here: you bring in Quinn to lose, you bring in Torts to make a team do as well, and you bring in Vigneault when you're ready to win and nothing else. I don't know if you even bring in Vigneault when you're ready to win, because he hasn't won shit. He went to 2 different finals, and he had 2 elite goaltenders dragged. Well, he had a Hall of Fame goaltender drag one team, and then he had a real good team with a Hall of Fame goaltender, and they choked it away in Game 7. So,
I mean, listen, if you want a President's Trophy and a spot in the Stanley Cup Final for 1 year, then Alain Vigneault's your guy. But if you actually want to win it, then no,
he ain't your guy at all. I'm gonna do a few more of these because I gotta wrap this up soon because I've realized how late it's been. NA's question I had up before. What do we think Patrick Waugh has done considering the interview with the Rangers? I mean, they're a better team than they were under Lambert, but I don't think they're a great team. They're kind of just – I think they are what they are. And I've said this for years. They lack snipers in the top 6. Brock Nelson, okay. If Brock Nelson's got the best shot on your team, you're probably not winning a lot of games. You're probably not going to go anywhere in the playoffs. Bo Horvat's a decent player. He's had a good season. Barzal is talented, but I still think he has a 10-cent head. I think he just dances around with the puck too much. He's a great skater, great puck handler, very good passer as well. But in the end, he prevents himself from being a dual threat offensive player that really scares teams. I don't think any team is truly that scared of Matt Barzal. I just don't. And
I agree.
I'm not gonna bash the guy, but he doesn't shoot enough to really. And he's got an okay shot. It's not terrible. It's not bad. It's not Derek Stepan's where it's soft as baby shit. But I mean, it's decent. But he's not gonna blow a wrist shot by any goaltender like that from range. He's not going to take a slap shot or a one-timer from the Ovechkin spot and blow it past the goaltender on a power play. But they don't have that. They don't have that piece that puts them over. And their defense is really starting to fall apart because Pelech is getting old and he's hurt every year now. Pulock has regressed badly from like 2017, 18, 2018, 19, from that range. I mean, Dobson's, he's good offensively, but his defense is, I mean, people say Keandre Miller's defense is bad. Noah Dobson's is not very good either. I'll tell you that right now.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Carolina's going to give them their business, to be honest with you. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I think they're really riding off of the good play of Varlamov right now. Like, Varlamov got hot at the right time, and good for them. And it's going to get them into the playoffs. And that's not to discredit everything that Patrick Waugh has done, but, you know, he's, like you said, made the team better. But I don't think to the point where, you know, they're going to beat, maybe they go one more extra game against Carolina or two than they would have before. But Varlamov got hot at the right time. I think that's why you're seeing them in a playoff spot right now. Like, I don't think it's because of Patrick Waugh. We saw it 3 weeks ago, people were writing this team off. And then Varlamov just put on the Hasek mask.
I think when it's all said and done and Lou eventually retires, his biggest regret of his career is not getting that big elite sniper on this Islander team, because they missed their chances with those 2 conference final runs. If they actually had an elite sniper, then one of those years they could have actually beat.
They would have beat Montreal.
They would have beat Tampa in the conference final, and then they would have ended up beating Montreal in the final. So yeah, and they're just. I think Carolina just has a field day with them. I see that series. I see that series ending in 5 games. I think Carolina is just, they're better coached, have a better system. Obviously, the Islanders have the edge in terms of goalie wise, but I think Carolina's got the better defense, more depth, and their star players are much better.
Yeah.
I think that series ends in 5.
I say it's probably in 5 as well. I mean, the only way I could see it going 6 or more is because Sorokin finds God mode again. And
that's the other thing. Like, Varlamov's dragging them here. They're probably going to start with Sorokin either way in the playoffs, because by principle, you got to start your $8 million goalie, no?
The only thing I could say is that we've seen it before recently with the 2018 Capitals, where Holtby was not starting, and he was a guy that almost broke the wins record a few years prior to that. And he went into the playoffs as the backup. And then Grubauer lost the first 2 games of the series against Columbus. And then they brought in Holtby, and then everything changed. I mean, they can do that. If Varlamov is the guy, and you got to remember, Juan Varlamov have a relationship from Colorado. So it is possible. But I'll answer Dominic's question here kind of quick and just say that, yeah, I kind of agree with this, because I think that they got rid of a guy who just wasn't good enough of a coach. He just wasn't. He was terrible. And you brought in a guy that is a decent coach. I don't think Waugh is a great coach. I think he's probably better served in junior than he is in the NHL, to be honest with you, because from what we saw with him in Colorado, it was one great first year, and then they got knocked out because they were a young team. They got knocked out by a more experienced Minnesota team in 7th. And then the next few years were crap, and he was out of the league for almost 10 years afterwards. So I don't really see anything with the Islanders, and I don't see how a team that has a power play and penalty kill, I think, is ranked last in the league.
Yeah, it's last.
And their power play, I think, is 21st.
And Carolina's only gotten better with the special teams. They're where are they in penalty kill? They got to be top 5, like they just always are. And then
Carolina, they're top 5 in penalty kill.
I don't even need to look, like they're always top 5. You could pencil them in every year. And then
no, they were not a top 5 team when they played the Rangers a couple of years ago, though. Their penalty kills improved.
Carolina.
That's true. Well, yeah. I mean, since then, they've mostly been, a top 5 penalty kill team.
Yeah.
So Carolina's first in PK percentage at 86.3, and they're second in power play percentage, 27%.
That power play is going to kill them, especially now that they have Gensel there.
Yeah.
That penalty kill is bad enough. We saw the Rangers pick it apart. You're going to see Carolina just exploit that heavily. I originally said 6, and now I'm starting to sway my opinion entirely and think I think 5 could be generous at this rate, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I could see it ending in 5 or less. I mean, like I said, the only way I think it ends up 6 is if they they go ahead and Sorokin finds God mode again, and that's really it. But I'm going to move on to that one. John, thank you again. Muse, Housley, and Pekka, top-notch staff for Laviolette. I got to agree with this. And I mean, the reviews on Muse, Dan Muse, were kind of mixed. I actually talked to some people who actually played for him in national development team, and it was kind of mixed. Like not anything bad, but not
High praise.
outstanding, not high praise. But Michael Pekka and Phil Housley, just great acquisitions. Just incredible for Peter Laviolette. Love it. Absolutely love it. To me, they're one of the best coaching staffs in the league. And it's a shame that Laviolette's not going to win the Jack Adams. I'll move from that. We'll get rid of that one. Sorry. This one's a good one for Romanello. Thinking of Kreider, he has to know, is this the last big run? You won't get another rebuild. You got to think that he's got to push as hard. Yeah, that's the hope. That's the hope. And Chris Kreider seems to produce in the playoffs. I mean, he had a nice run in 2022. He had a great run in 2014. Even his first little run when he came up as a rookie, he was really effective for him, scoring 5 goals right off the bat as a rookie.
Even last year, he produced when nobody else really did.
Yeah,
and especially like I know I'm personally not for it yet, but if he wants his number retired, winning that cup, it will cement it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It will cement it.
And yeah, like they need him to be at the top of his game. I mean, it's obviously him and Mika at 5v5 that need to be better if this team wants to win the cup. So, yeah. And also, if things do go wrong with the Rangers, he could be a guy that's a trade candidate. So he better play with a fire under his ass because of that too.
Yeah, I mean that contract eases up to the point where they can move him. So, and that's all. So I got to go back to an interview that I did when Anthony and I were doing Off the Post out of that radio station. We got Joe Beninati and Craig Laughlin on with us, and I actually got to interview Alan May in person at the 2018 draft in Dallas when we went. And one of the things that Joe Beninati brought up was that the Capitals, leadership group and the players, they were basically given the riot act that this was their one last chance to really win it. And that kind of brought that group together, and they really brought into what Trotz was doing there, because it was known that Trotz was going to leave. There was a rift between him and ownership. And Joe said that to us. And when I found that out, I was really floored, because I was like, wow, Barry Trotz's a great coach. He's got a great resume. But, sometimes it gets to a point where there's just a shelf life with players. And you got to imagine if this team fails, a lot of the onus is going to be on that leadership group, and there's going to be big changes. So, yeah, I mean, Romanello, you bring up a great point here with this Kreider comment. So,
the only other thing that I will say with that does worry me, I'm hoping that they actually feel that pressure this year, because I'm hoping that doesn't take another exit in the playoffs for them to feel that pressure, because I'll tell you right now, if it's not this year and they don't make changes, next year they have to feel that pressure.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I it's going to be tough to get back there. I mean, they could buy out Gaudreau and they can maybe bring in a wing, but who says they play like this again next year?
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is Panarin's best season in his career year. Who knows if he could repeat this again?
This is why I wanted them to go all in.
Yeah, and it's like I said, for me, it's cup or bust this year.
It is.
Sorry, I can't do any of this moral high ground where, but they made it to the second round, they lost to Carolina, they were better. No, sorry. You gotta do it now. This course 5th year together. It's gonna be the 3rd playoff run together. You have to get it done eventually, and if you don't, then there has to be serious roster changes.
100%.
I agree with you.
100%. I'll just gloss over this one real quick because I just thought it was funny. Thank God they didn't hire John Hines.
Oh my God, I'm just thinking about how, like, the reaction I had, because I was at a Knicks playoff game, and after that, I get the notification while I'm sitting in Penn Station, just seeing that they interviewed Hines and that he's like the favorite or whatever. And I just remember leaving that game with a smile on my face to dropping and having a frown so quickly. Oh, thank God they didn't get him. Yeah.
This is definitely true too. And I said that when they hired Laviolette, and that's why I was very happy when I got that scoop on him, is because I knew that by bringing him in, that it was all going to be on them. There was no more boy that cried wolf. There's no idiot coaching them. There's no fraud that is causing rifts with players. None of that crap. It's all on the players. It's all on the leadership group if they fail. It's all on the big guys. All on the big guys. I got just a few more, and then we'll pack this up. This is actually a great one from Romanello. Carolina plays a style that isn't sustainable over an 82 games and then playoffs. I have to agree with this. When you play balls to the wall, up and down hockey, I mean, I don't care how good of shape you are in. The way that they play takes a toll on their bodies. And I think that's why they get burned out the way that they do come playoff time.
I agree to a certain point. I just think a lot of people are underestimating the Jake Gensel effect.
Yeah.
And they haven't had that top elite guy who's going to give them big goals in the playoffs. And they finally do.
Yeah. And that's the thing that's scary. But the thing to counter that is any of their goaltenders going to get hot? Because they need one of their goalies to at least play respectable. Otherwise, they're cooked again, because we've seen it with Ronta before. We've seen it with Anderson before. They just haven't found a hot hand. And I know as Ranger fans, it's going to be tough to say this, but we do need the Islanders to squeeze out at least a few wins in that first round. Like, tear down or wear down, I should say, Carolina a little more for us and make it a bit easier.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's the Islanders or anyone else that's playing Carolina or anyone that they're going to play in the second round. I mean, you want to see a 7-game series and you want to see a bloodbath. You want to just let them beat the crap out of each other and then pick the bones. I mean, but it's not going to be that easy, obviously. And the Rangers probably won't make it that easy on us either. So,
And that's why we want them to finish that first round series of 5 games, because if they play Carolina in the second round, it's going 7 games.
Yeah,
it's going. There's no. The only way it goes less than 7 games is if Carolina just has a field day with them. I don't see the Rangers just tearing apart Carolina. If they're gonna win, it's gonna be a tight 7-game series.
The only way that the Rangers win in less than 7 that series is if their goaltending is like, they are playing dodgeball in the net that bad of numbers. Like, that's the only way.
You can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. You could Chekhov. That'd be something else, man. That'd be something else. And then the last, so I have 2 more. This one, do we think Rempe plays center next year? I'm not sure about that. I mean, maybe they want to try to get him there, but I don't see it. So that's just me. I don't think it's really even necessary. You have Edstrom at center, who's a better skater. I mean, you have centers within the organization. But Connell Barker, I think, may end up coming up to Hartford soon anyway. I think his playoffs are done. So we'll see what happens there. But I don't think Rempe at center is even that important.
Yeah, no, I don't see it really with that. I don't think there's a reason to. Like you said, they have all these other prospects that can play center. There's really not a reason to move them.
Yeah. I'll do one last one, and then we'll wrap this up. You know, the Trouba buyout isn't all that bad. It's $4 million, then $2 million, $2 million. No, those first 2 years are bad at $4 million. You got to remember, cap's going up by about $4 million. You're going to waste that space on dead space on Trouba. I would love to see Trouba moved. I really would, regardless of what happens, just because I don't think you can afford to have an $8 million third pairing defenseman. But I just do not see them buying out Trouba. Goudreau is getting bought out for sure.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to trade for him, and they get, I think, like a cap credit of like $247,000. I looked at cap friendly on the buyout on it, and then the cap hit the year after really isn't that bad. It's year 3 that.
Oh, the McDavid year. No.
Yeah. Well, it's not even that bad of a cap hit though. Like it's like a $2 million cap hit. It's not really that bad. So
as long as it doesn't affect McDavid.
No, I mean, I would
get
love
McDavid
to get McDavid, but I don't think that's happening.
Never seen that.
Never. Yeah.
I would love it, but I don't see it. I
A lot of money comes off the books. Panarin's off the books then too.
I mean, yeah. I mean that's a move to make if Panarin's coming off the books, but I just don't see Trouba getting bought out. I could see a deal in which they maybe retain like $1 million or $2 million on him. But yeah, I don't even see. I don't see how they buy him out. They've never had a cap hit that big.
Unless Detroit still wants him and they just trade him there.
That would be great, but I don't think that's happening.
Jacob Trouba for Moritz Seider. Anybody?
Oh yeah.
If they play Detroit in round 1, we need Jacob Trouba to put on the biggest clinic insanity run ever. Put himself on a good showcase here for Stevie Y.
Yeah.
This is your tryout for Detroit, Trouba.
Yzerman is not Jeff Gorton. Just remember that. Oh, but yeah, we're gonna wrap this up. Thank you guys for coming on and doing this. I didn't think this would actually go almost 2 hours and 1 o'clock in the morning. I do have to get up for work. So thank you guys for joining in and making this probably the best one that I've done. Hopefully we can do more of these throughout the postseason and try to be home for them. So usually it's I'm out, and that's why I can never do these, because I'm always out watching them with one of my best friends. So, but again, thank you so much for joining.
Thanks for having us.
Check these guys out at Rangers Central.
Probably Friday the 19th, we're going to have our playoff preview stream on Rangers Central. So if you guys are interested in any playoff previews, come check us out at Rangers Central. And look, before we wrap it up, boys, I'm just saying just one thing. It's been a hell of a season. Now the hard work starts. 16 games. And in the words of Jake Taylor, win the whole fucking thing.
I love that you just made a major league reference, because I watch AEW and Jon Moxley has X's version of Wild Thing as his entrance music. And every time I hear it, I always hear the owner's voice, and I always say it. And she goes, "I hate that fucking song." And I just love that reference when friggin' Rick Vaughn comes in. So just awesome that you brought in Jake Taylor. Yeah. You have no marbles. That's what somebody needs to do to them in this locker room, and just have a full Serrano and Tanaka moment. So, but yeah, I mean, Evan, any last words?
No, yeah, like Matt said, just let's get this done. Everything that happened in the regular season, no matter how much we've been pissed off, no matter how much we've been happy and celebrated, doesn't matter now. It's a clean slate. You got to win what's in front of you, control what's in front of you. 16 wins. Easier said than done, but it's possible. It's definitely possible.
Listen, guys, we want to be there in June on a nice, sunny, warm day at the Canyon of Heroes, celebrating a cup. We all want to be there. All
and
of
the next
us.
Championship.
Yeah, and all of us, everybody in the comments section, all of Rangers Nation, we want to be there.
We will be there.
We will be, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Very, very hopefully. But yeah, same thing from me. 16 games, no excuses. Go out there, get the job done, finish the story.
Copper bust.
And on that note, everybody have a good night. Game 1 is 3 p.m. Sunday. Mm-hmm. So that's when the madness begins. Everybody, Cardiac Rangers time. Here we come.
Yep.
Have a good night, and let's go Rangers.